How's it going, everyone? So My Hero Academia Season 2, Episode 21 is finally here. We had a week break, which made me really miss not having a new episode of My Hero Academia from Episode 20, where we got to learn all about this endgame villain with All for One, Deku sitting down with All Might, having that great scene at the end of this episode. But now with this new episode, Episode 21, having the final exam, kicking into high gear, having the teams of two students going up against a teacher for their final practical part of their final exam. This is getting me hyped for these last couple of episodes for Season 2. So I am super hyped about that. But this episode right here basically encapsulates everything I love about My Hero Academia. And the number one thing that I have to point out is the classroom high school aesthetic that it kind of has with all of our students, you know, Deku, Bakugo, Ida, Ochako, Momo, Mineta, all of these students, Ojiro, Ashido, Denki, all of these students interacting with one another. I love that feel because it makes it feel like all of these students actually talk to one another, that they actually interact. It feels like a classroom setting, especially at high school. They just happen to have kick-ass superpowers, and I absolutely love that feel. But the two main things that definitely go down in this episode that I definitely want to dive into just a little bit more definitely deals with Momo starting to get some shine during the final arc of this season, but then also, of course, this final arc exam with all of our students going into battle their teachers. Like, I am super psyched about that. So let's dive into this episode right now. And the first thing I have to start off with is that opening scene before the opening even kicks in with Mount Lady and Midnight. I absolutely laughed out loud with the cat fight that broke out between them and just having Mineta, you know, the perv within us all basically enjoying this entire cat fight on TV right now, but also getting to see Midnight's original costume when she debuted. Oh boy, that was a beautiful costume. Like Midnight, you know, R-rated Midnight, the hero. I love her power, I love her look, and just getting to see that within here just makes me love her character that much more. So I absolutely loved the opening scene. But then we dive more into the classroom setting where all of our students are now starting to learn about the final exam they're about to be going on that has a written portion and a practical part to it. And as the episode goes on, we kind of see where everyone landed in the midterms. And I gotta say, how the hell did Mineta end up in 9th place out of the 20 students in that class? Like, that shocked me right there. And even Denki and Ashido pointed out and saying, like, how the hell are you ahead of us when they were 19 and 20 respectively? Like, oh my God, Mineta, how did you do that? But then the main portion of this episode begins to shine a light on Momo, which I have been waiting for ever since the new opening for this second core of Season 2. Because when you watch the opening, of course it has everything to do with Stain, but once you get into the Ochako, Momo, and Bakugo section, that's when you start to see that that is the focus, that we're kind of getting some character development for these characters. Ochako is actually very simple and is displayed very well within this episode, that she is trying to become stronger. She wants to take her weaknesses and make them that much stronger, so that way she is an overall well-rounded hero. So she's taking those weaknesses and building them up into strengths, which makes sense because her internship went towards a very combat-heavy hero, Gunhead, and we can definitely tell the fruits of that labor will be seen during this final exam arc. And of course, even Bakugo, he's slowly getting character development here and there, but it's that villainous anger facade that he kind of puts on and is demonstrated very well within this episode when he calls out Deku and Todoroki, and he's got this anger just boiling up inside him. You can definitely tell that they're kind of building him up to kind of like become a villain, but I don't really see that happening because he is very passionate and was definitely driven by All Might ever since he was young, similar to Deku. And I don't really see him, you know, kind of going towards the villain route. I think that's kind of a bait and switch they're kind of doing with his character, but you can definitely tell that there's minor character development going for Bakugo here and there. But it's Momo I have been waiting for ever since like she was within the opening and we got to see, you know, her during the sports festival, how disappointed she was with how she wasn't able to handle herself against Tokiyami. And the fact that she was actually put into UA under recommendations similar to Todoroki, she's got high hopes not only from the audience watching the show, but in herself as well. And her confidence is definitely down a peg or two because sure, she is smart and it comes with her quirk. Like creation, she has to know how things are made and how it comes together. So she is very book smart and has a lot of intellect. But when it comes to confidence, when she goes, well, I can help you all, you know, with the written section in studying, but I can't help you all with the practical. And you kind of see her demeanor go down. And it made me feel really bad for her because her quirk is absolutely amazing. It is like an overpowered quirk if she actually has the confidence to go into it. And the fact that all the students come up to her because since she placed first in the midterm exam, they're like, can you help us study for this? And this is the part where we really get to see Momo exude a lot of happy emotions, because as we've seen with her character, she's very calm, cool, and collected, very serious. But as soon as like Ashido, Sero, and Ojiro, and even Denki come up to her and is like, help us study, she perks up right away and she is so happy. And just being able to see that for her character within this episode made me very happy, because I want to see Momo's character development as we go on, especially with this final exam coming up, and to see how her confidence begins to build, because she is smart, she is intelligent, and she's got a powerful quirk. She just needs to build up that confidence. And I love it too when all of the students like Denki, Ashido, and Ojiro, Sero go over to her house and they just see how rich she actually is. Because before she was like, you guys should come over to my house, I'll open up the hall so that way we can study. And everyone right there is like, holy shit, Momo is rich. And they're just like completely off guard by that. But because she's so bubbly and bouncy and just so energetic about them coming over, you can tell Momo is happy just to have friends coming over to her house. So that just made me very happy to see, just seeing her in her element, just being able to help out her friends studying for the final exam, which I gotta say, I am so excited that we got to see that personality come out of Momo for this episode, but I'm excited to see with her teaming up with Todoroki during the final exam, going up against Aizawa, is going to be very interesting to see. And I think that's a good segue to move over to the final exam part, where all of our students are in their hero costumes and they're coming to learn that they're going to be put into teams of 2 and they're going to be going up against their teachers for the final exam. Basically, the teachers are going to be playing the role of villains, and they either have to, win the fight by handcuffing them or get one of their teammates to run out of the area, and thus they would win the match that way. And this build-up, it was very predictable for Bakugo and Deku to be teamed up together, and especially for them to go up against All Might. But I gotta say, the build-up and just the way they executed the reveal in this episode, it actually was very ominous, and it made me actually feel sorry for Bakugo and Deku, because we have seen All Might. Unlike the other teachers that we've seen in this episode, we really haven't gotten to see them fight all that much. The only 2 teachers are Aizawa and All Might that we've really seen go in and fight villains. I mean, the other ones came in shortly after, especially during USJ, but we really didn't get to see them display their quirks and their abilities. But seeing All Might in action so many times, seeing how much power he actually has, like, you gotta look at Deku and Bakugo and it's like, you guys are in for it. Like, out of all the teachers, you have the hardest obstacle to overcome yet. And even with Todoroki and Momo going up against Aizawa, he can erase their quirks. And I love the fact that they even flash back to all the teachers forming the teams and them coming up with strategies and what teachers are the best to, amplify their weaknesses and hopefully have them overcome them to turn them into strengths. And that way they can win in this battle for the practical exam. And having Aizawa being a part of Todoroki and Momo's development is going to be very, very cool to see. Even with Bakugo and Deku in this episode, looking at All Might, and we know right now Bakugo is not going to be handling it very well, going with Deku, coming up with strategies, and he's not going to even talk with him. So it's going to be very cool to see once they're in the battle arena with All Might, how the teamwork between Bakugo and Deku, if they can settle their differences or not, and actually come together to defeat All Might or to run away from All Might and win. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. But we did actually get to see one matchup go within this episode. It went very quick, and honestly, seeing who it was just the brute strength of Kirishima and Sato, but also we come to learn Sato's quirk in this episode called Sugar Rush, where if you could consume sugar, he's able to amplify his strength and speed for up to 3 minutes. So I'm really glad we actually got to learn his quirk, because it was hinted at a little bit before during the beginnings of the tournament arc, but we didn't really get a description of it up until now. So they went up against Cementos and they were taken out very quickly, because it was more of an endurance match, because these two have quirks that are very powerful but don't have too much endurance, and Cementos, his quirk deals with endurance. He can do that without getting fatigued or tired. So Kirishima and Sato had to basically overcome that, or at least think of a way to overcome that weakness, but they just went in with brute strength to overcome this, and that was basically their downfall for this. And the last one we were left off with is Sue and Tokoyami going up against Ectoplasm Man. I forget his name right now, but the guy that can clone himself, they're going up against him right now. So I'm really excited to see where that goes. And of course, with all of our other heroes, especially Mineta and Midnight, that one is going to be very interesting to watch just because I want to see Midnight completely dominate Mineta. So that was basically everything that went down in this episode, but there's just one thing I do want to point out that I got really good enjoyment of. Go back to the lunchroom scene and watch Invisible Girl eat her food. Just watch the food disappear. I thought that was very funny just to see, and definitely go back and watch that if you guys missed that. It's when Deku, Ida, Todoroki, Ochako, and Sue, and Invisible Girl are just sitting there eating their food in the lunchroom. So definitely go and watch Invisible Girl's food just disappear into her being. It was just very, very cool. But that is basically everything that went down in this episode. I am really looking forward to see where this final exam arc is going to be going and the action beats we are going to be getting with all of our characters, but also the character development, especially for Momo's character. So that's basically all I want to go over for this review. I'm really looking forward to episode 22 coming out next weekend. Hopefully we don't have another break. I don't think we will. I think we're going to be going straight through to the end of season 2. But until then, and until the next episode, I'll talk with you guys later. And remember, plus ultra, guys.